Good morning, guys. It's January 16th, 2013, 10:50 a.m. Man, these frequencies are amazing. Uh, and I'm making fun at Mike Anderson for something that he posted on my wall and on my YouTube video yesterday about frequencies, and what was said was and I told him to quote exactly things that are said about a more pure frequency, and he said that using frequencies with spirituality was just babble, which is totally untrue. He seems to have an electronic background, and so try to address his subject matter with that, since I've got a pretty strong electronic background too. An electrical background and spiritual background and everything else. Plus I can pull it out from there. And that's what 5D is all about. That's about being connected to the field and getting out of your head. And that would be the first thing that I would suggest to you, is Mike, is forget all the stuff that you've learned in the Illuminati schooling and your physics background, as you claim here, because I've got a pretty strong one too. And try to understand things without words, because words, when you get into higher levels of spirituality, true spirituality, words are very limited. And just like we're seeing with the monetary and court system going down, the words that we can use might have an alternate meaning that can be used against us. And I would prefer that people use telepathy, which is concepts, not necessarily words and sentences and stuff like that that goes on between two persons. When you elevate your consciousness up to the higher chakras and you wish to create something, and you're looking for the understanding that solves the answers that gives you the whole complete idea of how to develop something that solves the problems that you need that concept for. You're receiving volumes of information, and it's only the ego mind that's trying to put it to words. So because that's the way that we relate to it in third and fourth dimensional life. When you start getting to higher levels of consciousness, you don't use that so much anymore. But anyway, this is Mike Anderson saying that frequency cannot be used in spirituality because it cannot be defined in Hertz. And Hertz is used in alternating current open loop situations for transmitting electrical flow on long distances, and it uses a grounding in that supposed closed or open loop system, using a ground rod, but pulsates the electrical flow over long distances. Direct current is uses much shorter distances before the electrical flow drops, because it is a closed loop system and does not use the same method of grounding. Hertz, as defined as Mike Anderson's trying to define it here, is the off cycle between the pulsating induction phase. When you send out that pulse of electricity, you've got an off cycle which goes to ground so many times per second, which defines Hertz. Spirituality cannot necessarily be defined by Hertz in that way. Hertz is literally an off cycle. When you're looking at spirituality, you have to see it as a switching between the polar opposites so many times within a measured time period. When you look at sacred geometry and you understand that in relation to creation, say the creation of the universe, say God to experience itself. First there was the point, and then for God to experience itself, it had to create another point, and then you create the circles around that, and you merge them, and it gives you the Vespa Pisces. Black, man, that word just just went out of my brain there. Anyway, the spirituality using frequency is more of a reversal of two polarities experiencing itself in waves of oscillation between the 2 points. Even our heart chakra, when we're talking about the electromagnetic, the frequencies emanated which generate the electromagnetic field, you're still dealing with the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart, opposite polarities that generate that field. Every single thought in existence has the two opposite polarities and has an oscillation waveform going back and forth so that it can have an identification. That's just how things work. In spirituality, I'm sweating here at 11 o'clock in the morning, Florida, in January. Spirituality is more with that off cycle, if you're trying to relate it to an electrical concept, it's more like a commutator in a DC motor. And the easiest way to define it, it's more like in over unity, just like, say, Joseph Newman's motor, that commutator for every revolution, which would be a period of time, that commutator is switching the polarities, which generates and destroys an electromagnetic field through the opposite polarities. It's not grounding out, so there's no Hertz there, but there is frequency there because it's switching back and forth so many times per revolution, or what you would say Hertz, because Hertz is defined as so many cycles per second. In this method of looking at it in the context of a commutator as by definition of a DC electric motor, and especially in a reverse permanent magnet motor, what is going on when you charge that stator, being the copper coil, that which creates the electromagnetic field, just like the heart, and you're switching this on and off so many different cycles per second. When you introduce the armature, which will perform the work with that inducing and collapsing magnetic field, which causes the spin of the permanent magnet, which can be is on an armature that can be hooked to perform work. What you're doing with the creating and destruction of the magnetic field generates electromotive force, or EMF, a backflow of electrical induction which occurred during the off phase of the electrical induction into that copper coil. And that is what is measured to generate what is called the over unity. It's really not an over unity, but what it is it's a release of electrons within the copper coil of the stator that eventually loses in the mass of the copper coil. Your copper coil over a period of years would lose electrons within that field. So it's not truly what they call perpetual motion in using this means of over unity. You're just more direct with Einstein's theory of E equals mc squared. And then there's more to it than that equation. That's just a basis equation. So still, that pulsating that's going on within that copper coil that creates and destroys the electromagnetic field, which allows the magnet to turn and you get work from, even with that understanding, that is still frequency, because you are working between two opposite polarities, creating an oscillation or a waveform that's going between them. And that's what's really going on with spirituality right now. And so to use the term frequency in raising your frequency in spirituality is absolutely correct. That is that's the proper terminology for it. And in relationship to Hertz, when you try to relate it to the defined meaning of the word Hertz, that off cycle, it's not gonna relate. You've got to raise your understanding of what the word frequency can mean and how it can be used with various types of electrical devices other than alternating current. It's just not gonna work with that. Your frequency can be measured, just like resonant frequency, on various frequency generators, or through a series of mechanical methods of measuring. You can see this oscillation going on within the field of activated individuals. That's how Greg Braden in heart math is able to determine that the electromagnetic field that's generated by the heart has between 5,000 and 50,000 times more power than the electromagnetic field of the brain. And the electromagnetic field of the brain, that's where your ego is. And your ego is not going to be found in your heart. And there's a lot of things that we're getting into now that we are developing faster and faster spiritually than we actually have words to define this within language of any type. And that's kind of the reason why, as you move up in spirituality, you're moving up with forms of telepathy and being able to send an energy concept, which also has polarity. Everything that is has polarity. Otherwise, it could not exist within this universe. And anyway, I hope that this video might help you to see that, speaking of spirituality and the frequencies of spirituality, is not necessarily babble, but maybe you might want to change your definitions of relating spiritual frequency to Hertz, because Hertz is electric, it's electronic, it is not on the spiritual nature. Does that make sense? You still have the reversal and the polarities. It's just like a commutator. It's firing positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative as it's going around to create and destroy the magnetic field, to allow a magnetic or magnet armature to rotate with the creation and destruction of that magnetic field, which causes work. Same thing in our bodies. Same thing's going on here. Anyway, that's enough for this one. Love y'all. Bye for now.